Hey everybody, do you want to be well? I'm pretty certain you all do, but YouTube tells me I have to ask questions and things, get you engaged. So yeah, do you want to be well is a silly question. I know everybody wants to be well, I know they're super desperate to be well, and will try almost anything and do almost anything and spend lots of money to get there, and exhaust resources mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, everything to try to be well. I know I've been there. I recovered myself from 6.5 years of chronic fatigue syndrome, being mostly bedbound, if not housebound, and it's now been about 13 years, 13 years, something like that, since my full recovery. And now I'm helping other people and to recover as well. And over those years, I've learned a lot. It took me 2.5 years from the moment I was like, I'm done with this, I'm done with this nonsense, to really become well, which is quite a long time. And I realise why that is, and I realise that doesn't need to be that case. It doesn't need to be the case, and that people can recover much quicker than that. And I was focusing on the right things, but I was focusing on, I think, too many things, and that's what I really wanted to talk to you about today. Is that if you're making being well quite stressful, quite challenging, if you're focusing on a million different things, that's our pesky brains taking over and thinking that it has to be complicated and I have to do more and I have to try harder, and that's not the case. It's actually the opposite. And I know that was definitely something that held me back from recovering quicker, is that I made recovery super complicated. I made it toxic, actually, in fact, in many respects. I was thinking that playing on the dam, I was thinking that everything had to be perfect, and I had to make sure there was no toxins around me, and I had to make sure that I was meditating for 30 minutes and I was visualizing for 30 minutes and I was doing all these things, and I made it stressful, I made it challenging for myself, and that is a big part of what holds us back. And then it's just the things that we focus on is generally lots of supplements and lots of superfoods and I don't know, infrared blankets and all these things, heavy detoxes. Definitely I did a lot of that, and I know for most people that they're digging now. For most people that's too much. It's the mental stimuli that we're creating, then the physical issues that we are creating by doing heavy detoxes and things like that. It's not needed. There may come a time, particularly when you feel stronger, to do a detox, but when you feel weak still, when you're struggling at home, actually a detox can be very detrimental, and definitely weaken you. And most people are not also doing detoxes correctly, and I will talk probably about detoxes because it's coming up a lot with clients and stuff, in more detail in another video, because I really feel that I want to address that a bit more thoroughly, because it is something that we all think we should do. And if you go and see someone, a naturopath or a therapist, or even some alternative doctors and things, they will test you and they will see that you are high in heavy metals, and you've got candida, and you've got this, and you've got that, and you've got the other, and suggest these heavy detoxes. But they make you worse. They definitely make people worse. And so you need to make sure that you're strong enough, and you need to make sure that you're also doing things to support that detox as well. So yeah, I've just gone off on a little tangent, or as my friend would say, a side salad. So yeah, being well is not that complicated. We make it complicated because that's how our brain is working, and that's how we've got in this pickle in the first place, from all this overthinking and overanalyzing and overwhelm for prolonged periods of time, that has kept us stuck where we don't want to be. But I've completely lost my train of thought, staring at the dog in my camera. Anyway, yes. So it needs to be simple. It's not that it just should be simple. It needs to be simple. And when we complicate it, we continue to stay stuck in this pickle that we don't want to be in anymore. And I know it's more than a pickle. I'm making it a bit more light. So yeah, basically, it's pull it back to what feels doable, what feels safe, what feels natural, what feels nurturing, what feels loving, what feels kind and compassionate, what you're doing from your heart, not your head. Anything you do from your heart at all, whether that's crafts or laying on the grass in the garden, watching the birds, watching the clouds make funny shapes, all of that is healing for you. Every single one of those things is more healing for you than sitting down to meditate in a slightly triggered way, thinking this will fix me. If I just meditate for longer every day, or I do it better, or I change it, or I get trained in it, or I went through that as well. I did all of those trainings. I did all of those courses, thinking this is it. If I just know more about this is what people are saying to me that gets them well. And yes, it's definitely helpful in any way for us to spend more time in a slow, purposeful, meaningful way, with life, with our body, with our nervous system, with nature. But if it's done from a place of push and trigger and challenge and this will get me well, then it's not going to do what you think it's going to do, and you're better off going and doing your crochet on the grass, or enjoyable things that are good for your nervous system, that regulate you, that bring you pleasure and joy. Those things are much more helpful for your healing than making this strict regime or regiment or whatever you want to call it that you feel is going to get you well. So what I would always say to focus on is nervous system regulation, anything that's regulating your nervous system. And as I said, that doesn't need to be a technique. That can be just sitting in the garden and listening to the birds, watching the clouds, making sure you drink your tea when it's hot. That's definitely one of mine. Doing things that bring you pleasure and make you feel safe and make you feel nourished and nurtured. And then circadian health, this is a biggie. I did do this when I was recovering, and I've written about this in my books, and I've talked about it on numerous videos and things, but I wasn't doing it as much as, I wasn't factoring it in as much as I think is important to do so. We are nature, we are animals. I've talked about this in my last video. You can check that out. I might link it below if I remember. We are animals. We do need to be connected to nature as much as possible to be able to thrive. And that also helps regulate our nervous system, so it's a win-win. So what I would say I don't know what they're barking at, something in the water. So what I would say is focus on that nervous system regulation, but also equally focus on circadian health. And I have many videos about this on my YouTube channel. You know, the getting grounded as much as possible. You know, even if you can't get out every day, opening a window, getting your face in the sun or the daylight, especially at sunrise and sunset. It's especially, oh, thank you. I just got shook on. Wet dog. Especially at sunrise and sunset. Eating plenty of proteins and fats, particularly animal proteins and fats, and I definitely think that was another factor in what slowed my recovery down. Eating local seasonal produce, you know, natural local seasonal produce, and you know, things out of season, things from other parts of the world. We're not designed to, you know, utilize those. And just, you know, making sure you've got plenty of fresh air, clean water, clean food, light, you know, not on these screens all the time. If you are, wear blue light blocking glasses. And you know, just being as natural as possible. And this is really what I'm talking about. It's simple. When it sounds probably a lot right now what I'm saying, I get that, but when you think about it, it's simple. And when you really think about it, it makes sense that that's how we thrive. We thrive because that's how we're meant to be, you know, that's how we're designed to be, is connected to nature and you know, connected to our bodies and our nervous systems and each other. So any way we focus on circadian health, nervous system health, we are going to thrive. And this has been proven to me time and time again in the last year or so with clients, that we're really just focusing on those things mainly, and what they encompass. And then also with my recent retreaters, you know, the recent retreaters, it's been 7 weeks since the beginning of the retreat, so 5 weeks since they left, and the difference in them in just a few days of grounding, eating loads of proteins and fats, no carbohydrates apart from what's in seasonal local vegetables, of nervous system regulation, of making sure they had good quality water, they were wearing blue light blocking glasses if they were in front of screens, no sun cream, no sunglasses, you know, really going back to what's natural for us, what's nurturing for us, and what really makes us thrive. And you know, this is what's important, because this is what's natural for us. This is how we always thrived, and we've become so far away from it, so disjointed, disconnected from ourselves and nature again. So when we flip that, when we start focusing on those sorts of things instead of all these other things that everybody else tells us are good, and I know I'm also now telling you something is good, but when we think about it, if we follow what is natural for us, of course that's how we thrive. You know, of course that's how actually the body will learn to detox better, and it will be able to detox better. It will be calmer, it will be more nourished and nurtured, it will have the correct fuel to make it thrive, you know. And I mean fuel, not just food, I mean the light, the air, the earth, the water, all of those things, and of course the thoughts, which affect the nervous system as well. So that's all from me today. Remember, I have a 30-day free CFS program, chronic fatigue syndrome program. The link is below. If you have already done it, you can do it again. Just put a different email address in, or unsubscribe from, or send me a message and I can unsubscribe you, and you can put the same email address in again. And yeah, I invite you to check that out. Ciao for now.